friends, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be adding more to your autumn TBR because that is my duty here as someone who co-hosts a Halloween readathon, is to add more to your TBR for this Halloween and Thanksgiving season, or for this autumn season. I have a total of 8 books that I'm going to show you guys today, and it's going to range from a variety of genres and age ranges. So let's hop into it, because this used to be a total of 6 books, and in the process of me even just filming this intro, I've had to stop at least 2 or 3 times to add other books. So let's go. The first book I actually don't own physically. I received an ARC of it, but I did do a full length. Okay, the first book I don't physically own. I did get an ARC of it back in the beginning of the year, and I did do a full book review for it. So if you want to take a look at that video, I'll leave it linked down below. But that is A Place for Vanishing by Anne Freystedt. This is a YA gothic horror novel. Right up my alley and perfect for fall. So Libby and her family are forced to move to her mom's childhood home after Libby's bipolar diagnosis. They don't know much about their mom's childhood home, just as she lived there. Her parents died in a tragic accident and she hasn't been there since. So moving back has been kind of weird and really odd. Not to mention that everywhere around her parents' home is littered with like bug paraphernalia, like everything. There are a bunch of different rooms that have different like bug art and everything. Each room is named after a specific bug, and things are just going very weird. Her mom is starting to act a little bit more weird. She's struggling to really connect with her sister after her diagnosis and her suicide attempt. So it's just a very weird scenario for Libby, and she's just trying to maneuver this new town, this new home, this new mom, seemingly, all while things in the hallways of this new to her house are just moving wrong. I love this book. I wasn't expecting for me to love it. It is a YA gothic novel, so I wasn't sure how much of the YA-ness of it would par down some of the creepy aspects of what I like in gothic novels, but I love this book. I think it's a perfect good spot for like someone who's trying to get into gothic literature but doesn't really know where to go and doesn't want to go too hard in like the Rebecca of it all, or the Wuthering Heights and the Dorian Gray, and is looking for something a little more modern for them to be able. This is set in our world, modern time. Trigger warning for this: there is mentions of suicide. I think it happens off page, but there are mentions of the attempt, and as well as very poor mental health. I loved that the story at its heart was all about Libby and her restoring her relationship with her family members. And I just thought it was very sweet, and I liked the relationship that was kind of blossoming, that little bit of romance in there, but it didn't overshadow the main themes of this, which is about family. And I really liked it. It was super creepy crawl, and I think it's perfect for Halloween. It's just it's like the right amount of creepy crawly where you'll be a little paranoid while reading, but it shouldn't bug you too much when you're done. So highly recommend if you haven't had a chance to pick it up yet. Moving on to a middle grade novel, and I'm gonna have to go with Freddy versus the Family Curse by Tracy Badwa. This is a middle grade novel following young Freddy, whose family has just been surrounded by a really bad curse. He is not a very lucky person. He's just struggling. He calls it the family curse. He finds this little Filipino like antique that is supposed to be considered good luck, and he carries it with him, only to realize that because he touched it and it's his family, he has now unlocked the curse in full scope, and finds that his great grand uncle has been trapped in this coin for generations and is the reason this curse exists. And if they don't find a way to break this curse, Freddy will now be the spirit that is trapped in this token alongside his uncle. I read this last year for Trick or Treat-a-thon. I really enjoyed it. It's just a super fun, lighthearted kind of read. I really love Freddy and his relationship with his family, and I love seeing Freddy kind of become more of this confident person despite this curse. I highly recommend this book for everyone. I think it's super cute, and I do love the little bits of Filipino culture that was weaved in to this novel. The next one, I'm almost positive, takes place during like the New Year's season, so we're jumping ahead a couple of months with this book, but I think it's still perfect for the fall time, and that is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. This is an adult, I guess, like contemporary fiction. I wouldn't really call it a romance, but it's about Florence, who is a ghostwriter for this very popular romance novelist. She is on the last book of this contract of hers, and she is stumped. She can't seem to write a happy ending for this novel, because she herself is going through a pretty rough breakup, but she has to submit an ending. Now, after she asks for an extension by the brand new editor, she is denied and gets news that her father has passed. Now with this kind of weight, she goes back to her hometown where she was kind of run off because she has a secret. She couldn't see ghosts. And her family also runs a like mortuary. So she's been run off. She goes back to this to kind of deal with the aftermath of her father's passing, and sees her brand new editor standing in her family home. Only he's not really standing there. He's kind of dead. So they both have to figure out, well, Florence has to figure out how to be able to be a functioning human being and how to finish his book, while she's trying to help Ben figure out why he's dead and why he's stuck here and how he can move on. This book gave me like an existential crisis of sorts because I related a little too closely to Florence. So I found moments of her like self like struggles and her like coming to herself to be very relatable to me, and I was not a fan of this moment. But I highly recommend this book. It's a 5 out of 5 stars. I read it earlier this year and I was surprisingly surprised. Very eloquent, I know, of how well this book read. It was super fun. It was very reminiscent of some of my like a favorite trope of mine, which is like dead but still here, I guess. Like dead but in a coma and a ghost, or dead but my ghost is still here pining for you kind of scenario. And I highly recommend this book if you haven't read it. Again, I'm pretty sure it takes place during like in January. But I think given the fact that there's a ghost in here and she can see ghosts, it fits really nicely. The next one is another contemporary fiction novel, but it's YA, and that is Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. Like I said, this is a YA novel. This is the second book I read of Tiffany D. Jackson, and it probably supersedes how much I enjoyed Grown. And it follows Claudia after the summer season. She goes back to school expecting her best friend Monday to be there, only Monday's gone. And as she's kind of slowly hunting for Monday and trying to figure out what's wrong with Monday or what happened to Monday, she's finding that less and less people are looking for her, and she's finding that she's the only one who is really actively searching for her friend and trying to figure out what happened. This was one of my favorite books, I think, of last year, I want to say. It was such a heart-wrenching read. It's told in multiple perspectives, in multiple kind of timelines, but it doesn't tell you exactly which timeline falls where. You just kind of have to figure out where it is. And I wasn't enjoying it. Like, I was enjoying it, but I was feeling like that the non-linear kind of way of storytelling was a little, like, messed up. It made it hard for me to really, like, get into the book while I'm trying to piece together everything with red yarn. But when the twist was finally revealed and you finally learned why it's so disjointed as a book, everything kind of clicked, and it made everything so much more heartbreaking. I highly recommend this book if you haven't read it yet. There are some trigger warnings for it. So I will leave them probably like right here because I don't remember all of them and I feel like I'm going to miss something. So we'll just leave all the trigger warnings right here for y'all. But I highly recommend it for this autumn season. It's very like thought-provoking, very much touches on the fact that no one listens to black women, black girls specifically, and losing the loss of a black girl's life is very much not at the forefront as it should be. Moving on to my last like contemporary-ish novel in this pile here, and that is Arsenic and Adobo by Mia P. Mananzara. This is an adult cozy thriller. It's a series. I've only read the first two books. I think there's like at least 4 out now. Follows Leela as she goes back home to help with her family's like restaurant after a really rough breakup with her fiance. Yes. She is tasked with saving Tita Rosie's kitchen, her family kitchen that her family has owned for years and years and years. That is until her ex-high school boyfriend comes in to do a review. Everything's going well. That is until her ex drops dead in their restaurant after eating one of their food. With the police not really doing anything and definitely blaming Leela, Leela takes matters into her own hands to be able to save her family's restaurant and for her to not be able to go to jail. I highly recommend this for cozy mysteries. It's such a fun cozy mystery, honestly. I'm not the biggest fan of cozy mysteries in general. I haven't found a lot that I really like jived with. I guess I haven't really read it, but this one is absolutely amazing. I love the bits of Filipino food that's mentioned in here. It's my favorite part of it, and I just love her family and like her little dog. It's just such a fun read, and it's definitely like still a mystery without really getting into like the weird nitty-grittiness that mysteries I feel seem to get, where everyone's traumatized and the stakes are like ever so annoyingly high. It's a fun read and I highly recommend it. I think I have a review of this book that I'll leave down below, or a video review that I will leave down below, so I highly recommend it. I lied, there's one more kind of like contemporary set area, and that is Damned If You Do by Alex Brown. This is a YA horror comedy following young Samantha, I believe? Cordelia, my bad. Cordelia. Cordelia accidentally sold her soul to a devil or a demon 7 years ago that happened to coincide with the same time that her father left the family and walked out. Kind of stuck with this weird conundrum and the fact that this founding father like ceremony is going to take place. She has to find a way to trap another demon into this little like Maleficent toy, I think, to give it to the demon you sold her soul to be able to save her soul. And she thinks she has like 7 days, I want to say, to be able to do this. I also have a review of this. Lots of reviews I can give y'all. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I really found it funny. It's Alex Brown's debut novel. It's queer. It's, like I said, it's like horror, but there's still like the comedic aspects that kind of cut some of the more horrifying moments of this book. There's a little bit of Filipino mythology weaved into here. I found it really fun and really interesting to read. I like that it's set almost like she's a musical theater nerd, so we get to see some musical theater-ness in here. It's just such a good book, and I think it's perfect for this fall season. If you're looking into getting into something like in the mood for Halloween, but not really in the mood to go in to dip your toes into something horror, but still kind of want that like horror-esque feel, I think this is good for it. Highly recommend. I've been saying that about every book in here, obviously because it's a recommendations video, but I stand by what I said. The second to last book is A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faizal. This is Hafsa Faizal's sophomore duology after We Hunt the Flame. This sets in a fantastical world where it's like, I think an Arthur, I don't remember, shoot, what is Arthur of Camelot mixed with The Tempest by Shakespeare, I think is what it was pitched as. Or it's an Arthur retelling. One of the two. But this is a YA fantastical novel following Arthie, who is kind of running a tea house by day that also turns into a blood house for vampires at night. When this tea house is threatened to be sold out from under her, she forms a ragtag team of people who she can't fully trust all the way, and they don't fully trust her all the way. And they also all have their own motives and their reasons for doing what they're doing to help her take down the people who want to sell her tea house. I gave this, I think, a 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it as being Hafsa Faizal's secondary novel. There are vampires in this book, which I highly recommend because I think vampires are the perfect thing for the autumn season. Granted, I like vampires regardless of the season, so maybe I'm just biased, but I highly recommend this book if you haven't read it yet. It's so good. It's so fun. It's definitely a heist, but not in the sense of like Six of Crows, where every member is indebted to one another because of their relationships. Here, no one really cares about one another. It's very much like we're all in this for ourselves, but then you get to see them start to build those relationships, and I think it's a very beautiful thing to see a team build from the ground up. But that is just my 2 cents. And the last book is one that I mentioned a lot, and that is Legends and Latte by Travis Baldree. This is an adult cozy fantasy following what's-her-face, Viv, who is an orc who is tired of the adventuring and wants to hang up her sword and open up a coffee shop after she had coffee in like one of the dwarven cities. Downside, the city she is moving into does not know what a coffee shop is. Now tasks with the impossible of building a coffee shop from the ground up and selling the coffee to people who don't know what this is, she ends up meeting a ragtag bunch of people who become kind of like a second found family in a way. 5 out of 5 stars. Was one of my favorites of last year. It's just so good. I think if you're looking in the mood to get really cozy and just comfortable and just like get lost in a lot of descriptions, I think this is the book for it. It's D&D inspired, so it's very much like baby steps into the D&D world. If you've ever wanted to go, please visit. It's very fun. But it's a lot of fun. It's super cute and super fluffy, and just I think what you need to kind of add a little bit of magical twists into your reading for the autumn season. Also, I say this a lot, the descriptions of the food in here are so painfully accurate that I imagined that it was so easy to imagine it that I thought that I was making said food items in my own kitchen. But I am not, because I refuse to make a croissant. So, highly recommend it. But that is it for the books I am going to be adding to your autumn TBR if you haven't read them already. If you have read these books, let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you haven't read them, please add them to your TBR. They will change your life in one way, shape, or another, and I highly recommend reading as many life-changing books as possible. But until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video, and if you want to see more from me, hit like, subscribe, and comment. Bye!